This is the EVP Podcast.
What? Yes, that's right. We are back with another episode of the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
I'm Ghosty.
And for those of you that binge listen, you won't have noticed anything. But for those of you that listen weekly when we release our new episodes, you might have noticed a little bit of a gap. We're here to tell you why. It started with me getting sick and not feeling well enough to record. And then Ghosty went to Vegas. And while he was in Vegas, he came back.
And I forgot my voice over there.
He left it with him. Apparently what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, along with your voice.
Yeah.
Here it is a month later since our last episode, and you still haven't recovered completely yet.
No,
but we're giving it a
there.
go because we wanted to record.
Yeah, it's been a while. We miss you guys.
So we're going to give you a quick, short little episode. It wasn't the one that we originally planned like a month ago because I was lazy and didn't do notes.
And I can't talk much.
And he can't really talk much. So we're doing a quick episode. That's more the reason why we're doing a quick episode is because his voice still blows. I do want to give everybody a heads up. In the future, here in about a month and a half, we're going to have a special episode. We are going on location. I don't know if we'll record there, but we will definitely be taking notes so we can bring you guys stuff about an investigation.
You know what we should do? We should bring our stuff to record some things because it might just be a good idea while we have some of the people with us to record some of the events they had.
Yes, I mean, we're going to have a group of, there'll be Ghosty and myself and about 6 other people going to this location. And
we're going to pick them up at the brothel on the way there.
We are. So yeah, maybe we'll bring some of our gear and we'll get some stuff from them so we can splice it into that episode. We might even bring some of them onto that episode, but that would be beginning of April-ish.
Yes.
When we do that, but we are going to the commercial hotel in
just
Elko,
like
Nevada.
We practiced.
And promised.
Practice and promised.
We're working on some other investigations to go on so we can bring you guys investigation stuff. But in the meantime, we're also going to be talking about, I promised serial killers this year, and we're going to do it. So look forward to that too. So, but today we're going to talk about Castle of Good Hope in good old South Africa.
Oh, yeah. Before we talk about that, was there any crazy paranormal things that you've experienced during our little hiatus?
Quite possibly.
Anything you could talk about?
Yes.
Talk about
Castle got a haunted stick.
Where did it go?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a stick or not. He said, so he went on an investigation and he came back home and there was like a stick or something that was in his computer room. And he's the only one that goes in his office, right? It's just for him. And this object was moved in the middle of the floor in a way that like it wouldn't have just fallen off the wall where he had it.
Okay.
It's not physically possible for it to have moved as far as it did on its own. So he consulted with the expert, and she confirmed that he did something. Definitely did follow him home.
Mm-hmm. Did he get rid of it?
Yes, he did. He did. So I mean that was with him. I don't know that I really had anything.
I had one.
What did you have?
So do you remember my buddy I showed you and
oh yeah, yeah. I was slightly drunk when you showed me the picture.
So I gave him a cleansing right here, an energy cleansing right here, and I did a couple things a little.
Did we talk about this picture? I don't think we talked about the picture.
No, we didn't.
So let's back up a little bit. So a friend of yours felt like he had some sort of attachment or something, right? So he sent you a picture and asked you.
I told him to send me one to show, so I could show you guys.
Okay. Yeah. So you showed us the picture while we were all at lunch, and I was like a really strong beer in.
Yeah, one strong beer.
Strong beer in. I don't know why beer gets me drunk fast, but it did. And so you pulled out this picture and you showed it to Brandy, and she laughed and she knew it was in there. And I said, let me see that in my slightly inebriated state. I said, let me see that. And I go, it's right there behind him. And then I gave you a lot of shit because I could sense it while I was inebriated and you couldn't. I said, do better, Ghosty. And you said, okay, I will. So we picked out that it was a gentleman that was in his like mid to late 30s, if I remember correctly. And I think it was one that just like followed him home randomly one day.
Yes.
So, and then you did some stuff.
So I gave him an energy cleansing, and that one that you guys saw, was gone instantly. But that one, so like when I started, he was like already detached and gone. He's like, fuck this, I'm out. And there was one that was like internal, inside it, like all in his like right side. I didn't even like sense that one until I started going around with a singing bowl. And right as I get next to it, it starts singing real loud. I'm like, you know what? This is different. You know, I feel, but I didn't say anything to him out loud. But once I got to this part where I was having him exhale, and I was having him inhale with some essential oils, and as he exhaled the negativity, I saw something in his breath as he came out. As he exhaled it really hard, I saw something like dark, almost like if you'd imagine an orb but dark instead of being lit. It kind of went out with his breath, and I saw it come out with his breath and then shoot out the window right here. And I just was like, in my head going, this was crazy. Anyways, afterward, that was kind of the end of it. I kind of start telling him where I was sensing that energy, and that I saw it leave. He's all, dude, when I exhaled, because he even said this, as he exhaled, and as I saw that, I heard him, he said this out loud. He goes, it's gone. I'm like, dude, I know it's gone. I just saw it. He's like, you saw it? I'm like, did you hear when it was that singing bowl right here? He's like, dude, yeah, right here. I'm like, I think that's where it was attached. And when you did that, I saw that actually come out. He's all, no way that you say that, because this is where I've had a lot of pain and like a lot of like weird shit, like just all in that area. Fast forward a little bit later, a couple days, and then again like a week later, and then again a couple weeks later, he tells me that he's like, dude, the pains I've been having, they're gone. Negative thoughts I've been having, gone. Like it was pretty crazy that seeing that, him validating kind of some of the things that he was experiencing, but he didn't even tell me until afterwards. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But enough about me.
It's always it's always fun. It's always rewarding to be able to help somebody release.
Dude, it is crazy feeling good knowing, and then seeing how much it was going to cost him to go get that done somewhere.
Oh right, wasn't he looking into
he was looking at getting
quote
an
unquote
energy
professionals?
And I understand some people, that's what they do professionally, and they have that calling, and they have a lot of people coming to them, so might as well, turn it into a business. I get it. But just the amount of money it costs, and just knowing that I could do that for free for him and alleviate that stress on two different levels, that was pretty rewarding.
Yes, I like it. That's a good story.
But now where are we going in this episode?
I think I said we're going to South Africa. Yes, we're going to South Africa, to a good old little place called the Castle of Good Hope.
Yeah.
So this was built by the Dutch East India Trading Company, or Trading Company. That's what they called it in Pirates of the Caribbean. The Dutch East India Company, between the years of 1666 and 1679. The castle is the oldest existing building in South Africa. It replaced an older fort called the Fort of Good Hope, and I changed that from what it said because it was like French or something, and I knew I was going to mispronounce it.
Speak of French.
I don't speak the French. I don't know if it was French.
Yeah.
So the original Fort of Good Hope was constructed from clay and timber by a gentleman named Jan van Riebeck upon his arrival at the Cape of Good Hope in the year 1652. Two redoubts were built. The first one called the Redoubt Lookout, and then the second one, the Redoubt Dunheap. They were built at the mouth of the Salt River in 1654. The purpose of the Dutch settlement in the Cape was to act as a replenishment station for ships passing the treacherous coast around the Cape on long voyages between the Netherlands and the Dutch East Indies, which is now Indonesia. Mm-hmm. During 1664, tensions between Great Britain and the Netherlands rose amid rumors of war. The same year, Commander Zacharias Wagner was instructed to build a pentagonal fortress out of stone. Now, the first stone was laid on January 2nd of 1666. The fortress was partially built by slave labor. The VOC, which I'm still not quite sure what that is, but the VOC was unsure about the size of the local population groups, and they feared a revolt if they enslaved them. So instead, they brought in close to 60,000 enslaved people from Madagascar, Mozambique, and the Dutch East Indies and India. Work was often interrupted while this was going on because the Dutch East India Company was kind of reluctant to spend money on the project.
Then in 1682, the gated entry replaced the old entrance, and then which had faced the sea in a bell tower, and that was situated over the main entrance, and that was built in 1684. And the original bell, the oldest in South Africa, was cast in Amsterdam in 1697 by the East Frisian bell maker Claude Fremy, and that weighs just over 660 pounds. That was used to announce the time as well as warning citizens in case of danger. And since it could be heard 10 kilometers away, it was also rung to summon residents and soldiers when important announcements needed to be made.
Now, the fortress housed a church, a bakery, various workshops, living quarters, shops, cells, and other facilities. This is the reason why they call it a castle, is because it functions
Like
very
a
much
castle.
like a castle in
A whole village inside of it.
in Europe. Yes, a whole village inside of it. The yellow paint on the walls was originally chosen because it lessened the effects of heat and the sun. Now, wall was built to protect citizens in case of an attack. It divides the inner courtyard, which also houses the Decot balcony, which was designed by Louis Michael Thibault, with reliefs and sculptures by Anton Arneth. The original was built in 1695, but rebuilt in its current form between 1786 and 1790. From the balcony, announcements were made to the soldiers, slaves, and burros of the Cape. Burrowers. The farmers.
So during the Second Boer War from 1899 to 1902, part of the castle was used as a prison, and the former cells remain to this day. Fritz Jobert Durqueen, later known as the man who killed Kitchener, and the leader of the... How do you say this? Duquesne?
I don't know.
Anyway, it's aspiring. Anyway, there's aspiring, right? He was the only one. It's well-known. Was one of its more well-known residents. The walls of the castle were extremely thick, but night after night, this dude dug away and cement around the stones with an iron spoon. So he used to sit there with a spoon digging away the grout. Pretty
Kind
much.
of think of like Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
How Andy Dufresne is digging away with a little tiny rock hammer.
Yeah, and so they got cement as grout in between these boulders, and he's just going to town on it. So he nearly escaped one night, but a large stone slipped and pinned him in his tunnel. The next morning, a guard found him unconscious but alive. That sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So he was nearly there, but that one stone kept him. And then he
Almost got
lived. Okay, so like you mentioned, the castle was used as a prison, and it had numerous prisoners that were incarcerated there for their sins, whether they were real or made up. In a place that they called the Donkergat, which means dark hole. This windowless dungeon was used as a torture chamber and is sometimes flooded during the winter, drowning any prisoners that were in there.
Oh, that sucks.
Yep. Now, it is believed that this dungeon, or so-called dark hole, was used as an ammunition store and gunpowder magazine. The room was, however, too damp and was later used as a coal store. The research has revealed that the two rooms in the corner of the old recruitment building were the original interrogation chamber and dungeons of the castle. There was a good reason for the interrogation chamber being next to the dungeon. Now, according to Dutch law, a criminal had to confess his crime before his sentence could be executed. The sound of torture coming from the adjacent rooms certainly facilitated this process. The prisoners were not supposed to be detained for more than 24 hours.
So it's pretty much if you can withstand torture for 24 hours, you're free to go.
Kind of, yeah.
That's some bullshit.
But they put the torture chamber next to the dungeon, so the people that were being held could hear all the people being tortured.
And so they can.
And so they would just
I'm gonna confess.
yeah, pretty much.
And when you confess, you get tortured to death anyway.
That's when they can sentence. Well, not necessarily tortured. I think they tortured some people to get them to confess. And then on top of that, they had the people next to them hearing the torture, and they'd be like, fuck that. I'm out. I'm confessing. I totally did this.
Or they confess so they can just have a quick death.
Right.
Either way, you're going to die.
It's just so they're sentenced, so they can, whether it's being sentenced to death or just sentenced to whatever their punishment is,
I
but
guarantee-
it's probably to death because they did have on-site gallows.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that a little bit because they did do a lot of hangings here too.
All right. So in 1936, the castle was declared a historical monument, making it the first site in South Africa to be so protected. Extensive restorations were completed during the 1980s, making the castle the best preserved example of a Dutch East India Company fort. Da-da-da.
Yay. Now, the castle acted as local headquarters for the South African Army in the Western Cape, and today houses the Castle Military Museum and ceremonial facilities for the traditional Cape Regiment. The castle is also the home of the Cape 2 Highlanders Regiment, which is a merchandised infantry unit. So that's a little bit of the history, some of the stuff that's happened here, or how this castle came to be.
So now to the juicy stuff.
The stuff, the reason why you're here.
The big, juicy, wet stuff.
The ghosts.
The ghosts. So, first ghost was spotted in 1915 when the apparition of a tall gentleman was seen jumping off the side of one of the castle walls and then walking between the bastions Leerdam and Orange.
So I didn't put this in the notes, but there was 5 bastions that were built because, it's built in the Pentagon, so the bastions are the corners.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And they were named after the guy that built them, the different titles that he held.
Leerdam and Orange.
That's 2 of them. There's the other 3 I could not pronounce, so I did not put the names in there, but that's a thing.
Yes.
So
it sounds like he was doing parkour, which is
parkour,
French.
yes, a parkour and ghost, which is why you see that episode in The Office when they're running around going parkour. It's after this ghost, obviously.
Duh.
And the thing is he was not only walking between these bastions or leaping off the walls, he would also just kind of vanish when he was doing this. Now, another famous ghost is the Lady in Gray, which I like that she's in gray because not white like everybody other.
Yeah,
everyone in the dog sees.
She's got some flavor.
She sees the gray area between the black and white.
Yeah, she has some depth to her.
Now, she's often seen running through the castle, holding her face and crying hysterically, but has not been seen since a woman's body was found during excavations.
Oh, nice.
So it's believed that
maybe she crossed over after that.
Yeah, they might have found her body and gave her proper burial.
Okay. So the bell in the bell tower sometimes rings on its own, which should be impossible because it was bricked up centuries ago. Legend says a soldier once hung himself by the bell rope. Perhaps it's his ghost that rings the bell. I don't know. I would think it's maybe a residual sound that they hear. Maybe.
Quite possibly. That's just the theory.
Yeah.
Is it's because the guy hung himself with the bell rope.
And I can see that's good for,
if I'm
for an audience. That's good for an audience.
If I'm giving a tour of this place, that's the story I'm telling. I'm going to be like, it could just be residual. No, dude hung himself and he's still ringing the bell to this day.
It could be, pieces of rubble falling and hitting.
We don't want rational explanations when we're telling ghost stories.
No, there's ghosts.
Yeah, it's a ghost. See, man.
It's a demon, see? Man.
Yeah, it's a demon. I'll show you a demon.
Bell ringing demon, see?
Now, there's also reports of a vicious black dog that is said to haunt the castle grounds. It lunges at people before it suddenly disappears.
Okay, I guess that would be kind of scary as shit.
Yeah, I know. I think I would be freaked out. Dog comes running at you, snarling, like,
and then right as it
drool going everywhere, jumps at your face, and it's just like, okay, go.
All your adrenaline's pumping, and then you make a scene out of it, and you're just standing there.
Pretty sure we would need to change of pants.
Yeah. So a man and a woman are frequently heard arguing near the guards room. If people check it out, only a shapeless figure is seen, and here an electrical bell is also heard while nobody is around to ring it.
Now, there was a lady that lived here at one point. Her name was Lady Anne Bernard. She is said to haunt the castle. Barnard? Yes, Bernard. She's said to also haunt the castle to this day. She lived there in the 18th century, the late 18th century, and as the first lady, she was responsible for entertaining important guests that visited the castle. She seems to keep on doing this, even though she passed away over 2 centuries ago. She sometimes appears when the castle is visited by important guests, as if she's still, doing her duties of entertaining the elite.
So this ghost, he keeps popping up, is Governor Peter van Noot. He was a strict and militant man, and Van Noot sentenced 7 men to death, and he refused to grant On April 23rd, 1728, he refused to grant a prisoner's last wish right before hanging him.
So the reason why he was hanging these is because it was very frowned upon for leaving your post. So these seven
are military.
These were deserters.
Deserters. Okay. So later that same day, Van Noot was found dead in his office. He died of a heart attack. Even though he was completely fine in the morning, legend has it that he died with a look of surprise on his face. Today, workers and visitors experience his bitter presence, and they hear him cursing and swearing inside the castle walls. I bet you anything. Either you think that he was scared to death, scared with the heart attack.
It's possible. I don't know. So like, they say that, you know, like you mentioned, the one guy cursed him before he was hung, and he died the same day. And supposedly he's in good health. I mean, this is
what's good health. You know what I mean?
In the 1700s, right?
He was fine this morning.
He seemed fine this morning.
Everybody that dies of a heart attack was fine that morning,
right?
You know.
So, was he cursed? I don't know.
Or was he just more like he was probably heart disease, and like, you know, that was a lot of excitement for one day for him. And
this is so excited. He's like, oh, I'm hanging people. So excited. So excited.
Maybe it was like a lot of angst because it was for deserters. So it was like people that he might have known.
Maybe. Well, I mean, they were his men. Obviously, they were deserters. So, but so it might have been people that he was kind of close to, but he still had to carry out orders, right?
Right. So maybe it was tearing up his heart.
Tearing up my heart when you're not
when
here.
You're guilty. So maybe it was eating up at him. Or maybe a ghost came at him real quick and he did get scared to death.
They said they found him sitting upright in his bed with a look of terror, surprised look on his face.
Oh, like I'm having a heart attack look?
Right. No, but again, if I'm giving a tour of this place,
I'm saying that it was
ghosts. It was a ghost.
It was demons.
Realistically, probably just a heart attack.
It was heart disease demons.
Pre-existing heart condition. 1700s, the medical field wasn't that far advanced.
Well, you got to bleed them out with leeches.
It was. This is true.
That's how you get the demons
it was
out.
a heart attack demon.
And you got to get leeches.
We're going to name him Leroy. Leroy the heart attack demon. Fulfilled the curse of the hanged man.
He did fulfill the curse.
So, yeah, like I said, short, sweet, to the point. That was the Castle of Good Hope.
Yeah. And we hope you guys have good hope.
Yes, before you do that, after you do that, while you're doing that, you should check out our social medias at evp.pod. On Instagram and Facebook, sometimes we post stuff.
We will.
Most of the time, DVO does it. Sometimes it's us. It's mostly DVO. And our behind-the-scenes social media expert that we've recruited.
She doesn't have a name.
She doesn't have a name yet, but
Baby Ghosty.
Baby Ghosty. Baby Ghosty is our new social media expert. So shout out to her for joining the crew. And then after you've done that,
Ghosty
check out
Jr. Ghosty Jr.
Ghosty Jr. Baby Ghosty Jr.
Baby Ghosty Jr.
We'll come up with another name, but for right now, it's Baby Ghosty
Jr.
Check out our affiliate link to GhostStop.com, where we buy most of, if not all of our ghost hunting gear. I think I bought my cat balls on Amazon because they were cheaper. But they've got some really cool new stuff out that they've published recently.
Maybe we got to go buy some and make some reviews and post the reviews.
Yes, let's buy some stuff, do unboxing videos, make review videos, and then
store them on a computer.
Store them on my laptop.
Yeah.
For years. Well, it's only been a year. I have like 2.5 years. I have no idea. So yeah, there we go. There's that.
All right, guys, go sit and play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
This is the EVP Podcast.